Kerry Boulton is Australia's most respected exit strategy advisor and CEO of the Exit Strategy Group. Welcome to this week's segment.
How do you value your business? I'm guessing if you work with someone that's an exit audit person, they can give you a bit of an indication. You can talk to your accountant, they can maybe give you some suggestions, but what data or metrics should you be using to set a price?
If you can benchmark your business against others in your industry, that will give you a bit of a guide. And there are quite a few tools around. I have a couple of tools that I like to use too, which are just online tools that you can get some sort of an indication.
So you can type in business benchmarking tools into Google and you can find them there?
Yeah.
And do they also list what businesses sell for in this industry?
You can usually get that information from, a business broker association. If you talk to a business broker especially, they'll be able to give you a guide.
So they might say mortgage broking businesses normally sell for this, etc.
Yes, there are general rules of thumb
for
different industries.
But we want to kind of break those rules of thumb.
We do.
And we want to go beyond that. So how do we break those rules that kind of other people say, well, your business is only worth this, how do we actually get 50% more, or how do we get double what the industry average is? Because no one's average that watches this show.
Correct. We don't want industry averages at all.
Not at all.
And that, to me, that would be the low ball. Always look.
So you could just laugh when they say that.
Oh no, you can just say, thank you very much.
Just nod your head.
That's interesting. How did you arrive at that figure? Yes. Look, it comes back to the work that we were talking about in before, and that's about thinking about who it is that's going to buy your business, and therefore you pitch it so that it becomes attractive.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, the things that you really need to do is understand where the market's heading, understand who the competitors are, understand how you can project the future cash flows, because that's what people are buying. That's what the purchaser is going to buy. They're buying the future cash flow that they will be able to extract from your business to put into their business. So, I mean, take me away from discounted cash flow calculations. It's not me, but your accountant will be able to help you out on that one. When you do your future financial projections, look at the revenue that you're going to generate and bring that back to a today's value based on an interest rate. That will give you some idea. They will give you some idea of what they think that your business could be worth. Couple that with what you need as well, that financial planning discussion, and see if there's a gap. And if there's a gap, then we need to examine it more closely to find out what we can do to fill it, to close the gap so that it doesn't exist.
Right, now I'm going to put you into a sort of a scenario right now, because the moment that someone gets a sniff that you want to sell your business, they're going to say, what do you want for it? What do you want for it? What do you want for it? How do you answer that question?
Why are you asking?
Yeah, so you put it back on them?
Yeah. Why are you asking?
I'm thinking about buying a business, your business.
Okay. And what would you plan to do when you bought a business like mine?
I've just come in and run it, basically, and try to kind of grow it a bit more, see what else I could do with it.
And what sort of things would you do to grow the business?
Great. So basically turning it back around them.
Totally.
So what are the questions? These are awesome, by the way. So you're asking, what was the first question you asked? What do you want for the business? Why are you interested?
Why are you interested?
Why are you interested?
That's the most important question. Why are you interested?
Why are you interested? Great.
Yes.
So even if all you did was just answer that question with another question, you're already going to be, 8/10 of the way there.
One of the really important things to do is to understand the buyer. It's getting into the head and understanding what's motivating the buyer. Why do they want the business? No matter what type of sale it is that you're making, even if it's a family business and there's succession happening, understanding that the successor, what's the successor thinking? What's the planning that's going on in their minds?
So some of those questions, if you're taking notes, are so why are you interested? Or why what are you going to do with the business?
How do you plan to grow it?
How do you plan to grow it?
Yeah.
How are you going to run it? What are you going to do differently?
Correct.
So just basically asking all those questions.
Correct.
So if they've answered all those questions and they're still saying, what's your asking price? Then what would your next step be?
What do you think it might be worth?
Okay, so you put it back on them. So my next question was, do you name the price, or should you actually let the buyer name the price?
I would invite offers to start with.
Invite offers.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. And that will give you two things. First of all, that will give you feedback and understanding what perception might be out there as to what people could think it's actually worth. And then that gives you an opportunity to actually respond to say, well, there's a great business over there that you might like to look at because that's probably in your ballpark, whereas our business is at a much higher level than that, or something around, some wording around that without actually giving away the price.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're probably going to come back and say, I'll pay you, 1.5 times net profit or something like that. So if they lowball you, what's your next step? And obviously, you already made the point before, you probably shouldn't be involved in the negotiations at that level. No. So you're not kind of emotionally involved. And there's professionals that obviously do this all day, every day.
Yeah.
But if you're stuck in this sort of situation and someone lowballs you, what do you do?
I'd say thanks. That's interesting that you should say that. What made you think that was a fair offer? Find out the information, and then I wouldn't even engage any further. I'd say, look, that's really terrific. I'm going to contact my business broker, and would you like to take this further? I can introduce you.
Okay, so then pass it off to the person that's going to be looking after that, and they can do the proper negotiation for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how do you create competitive tension? How do you find other buyers? It's about...
Well, if you've been through the process similar to the one that I've described earlier, which is about thinking about who might buy your business, and you do market your business proactively out, and you invite offers, you might be surprised at the number of offers that people who are actually interested.
Because you might be talking to 5 different people that aren't your competitors, but they're all competitors with each other.
Correct.
So now they're kind of wanting to perhaps, if they don't buy the business, their competitor will, and they'll get all of that benefit.
Correct. And so you create a mini auction, basically. You can do that. You can actually create it. You definitely need to have your broker involved in that. A third party must be involved in that whole negotiation process with you to make it so that you're at arm's length, because you'll become too emotionally involved. That always happens. It doesn't matter who you are.
A lot of people have either maybe perhaps sold their home before in the past, or they know their parents that maybe have, so they've been involved in it in some way. How, and you've been involved in real estate too, how's selling a business different to real estate in terms of negotiating multiple offers?
They are quite similar. The emotion that is there is incredible. It really is, because it's your business is your baby, just your home is your castle. So it is the emotion that's actually caught up, that's driving you, often clouds your thinking. And as I mentioned also earlier, you sometimes business owners can have inflated views, but hopefully we've got past that and we're at a realistic level. But it's just the emotion that you do get caught up in. The selling a business is very difficult in that it's your identity. You've been wrapped up in it, and all of a sudden, ultimately, when it is gone, there's almost like a grieving process that people go through. Notwithstanding, for some, it's thank goodness. Yeah. It's over. I'm past it. But for most who've been, started from scratch often and really built it, and it's been their lives, it's
because there's that famous story of Richard Branson, right? Do you want to share that with people?
Yes, which is quite fascinating. In his days of growing, when he's had to sell his music, Virgin Music, to Sony, he needed the money desperately, and he talks about when he's walking down the street and he's got a cheque for $1 billion in his hands, and he's crying. He's literally crying. He's sobbing, because it's something he grew from nothing, and even though he's got this cheque for $1 billion, which he really needed,
it was his identity.
His whole identity had just been sold off. So you find you might be out socially and someone says to you, "Oh, and what are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing with yourself?"
Nothing.
Correct. Now, one of the things when people do sell their businesses, and particularly when you do get a very big payday, one thing I would highly recommend is take some time to decompress. I think, and that's a really useful word, decompress, because you're so stressed. And sometimes it takes months to get over that. But then have something to do, have something else useful to do, because a life without purpose is no life. You have to have another purpose in your life. And that can be a whole range of different things. It can be, you might want to get involved in the community. I've been involved in our local community sports club for 20 years. So, those are things that you enjoy. You might want to do some volunteer work. You might want to put back into the community in different ways. You might actually want to go out and mentor and be an advisor for other people who are actually in their businesses. And one of the other strategies for selling your business is, in fact, to have a form of vendor finance, where you might bring in someone else who's going to buy the business, but you might mentor them in your own business. And this can be hard too, because you've been
So they're going to pay you over a period of time?
Correct.
Right.
Yes. So you could mentor the next person coming through.
So someone wants to buy the business, they're the right person, but they just don't have the money, and you're going to say you're going to pay me, let's just say it's $100,000 a year for the next 5 years, and I'll help you in that transition.
Yes. And over
now,
that
what's
time,
a management buyout as well? What's that concept, and how does that work?
Okay. Well, that in fact is what I did when I bought the freight business from May Nicholas, was a management buyout.
So this is where you, as the general manager, and you could actually get a couple of other staff members to either put up their money together or to raise some capital, and basically it's the staff or the management team, right, buying the business from the owner.
Put a syndicate together. It could include external investors as well, but basically the business is bought from within, so internally. And it may mean that you leave some money in the business. I got some vendor finance from May Nicholas way back when. So you would leave some money in the business, and then that gets paid back to you over time.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Just before we close, and I love the fact, by the way, we talked about the emotional kind of side of things, about people having a purpose after they sell their business, or hopefully even before along the way. So it's not kind of like a big shock to the system. But the other thing I want to talk about, some people say that terms are more important than price. Now, obviously, we've been talking about how to sell for the best possible price. But what are the terms that we should be looking for, as well, in terms of, because I know sometimes you actually get paid in cash, sometimes you get paid in stock, sometimes you have to stay on for a year or 2 years. There's so many variables. What are some of the things that are the best case sort of scenario that you should aim for?
Well, best case scenario is, here's the cash and I'm out of here. Okay.
Here's the cash. Walk out the door.
Correct.
We'll deal with everything that you've left behind.
Yes, if you can. That's the least risk for you as the seller. Okay.
Got it.
But 9 times out of 10, that isn't going to happen, because a lot of the intellectual property in the business is caught up in you, the owner. Even though you may have done your best to actually get it all out and systemised, there'll be a perception from the buyer that they need you there. They need you around for a while. That may change after 2 or 3 months, but there are different scenarios. So there could be an earn-out where a portion of your payout is tied up with the future profits of the business.
So we're paying you $1 million. Here's $500,000 now, and we'll pay you the rest if the business hits these goals.
Correct.
Right, and then so you're going to stay connected to the business, coach the people to get the results, so you get your own money out.
Correct. You've still got your skin in the game.
So what's that called? That's called an earn-out.
Earn-out, yeah.
And it could be any combination of upfront high, upfront low, whatever.
And it could be over whatever period of time.
6 months, 2 years, 5 years.
All negotiable.
Okay.
Everything negotiable.
What else are there other things that buyers may want to throw in there, and then it's up to you to decide ultimately?
Sure.
And are you going to negotiate on price to get the terms that you want?
Well, they may, depending on the business that's buying you, you could get stock, for instance, shares. If you're being bought out by a company that's a listed company, so they may give you a certain amount of cash, and they may give you a certain value in shares. So you're punting on the value of those shares increasing or not going down.
Now, can you sell those shares instantly, or are they sort of escrowed or put on ice in a way for maybe a year, so you can't actually just take it straight to the bank?
Usually they'll be on ice for a little while.
Right.
And again, the term is negotiable.
So they'll want to say, here's the shares, and you can't sell them for a year, and that way, you want the company to grow so you can increase your value as well.
That's right. They still want your skin in the game.
Got it.
On the other hand, they might say, we will... sometimes people have this notion around holding on to a little bit of equity in the business. So that may happen. So that somebody might buy your business. Say, for instance, you're selling off to a private equity group, which is someone else we haven't talked about yet, who they have a very short time frame with private equity usually. They see great opportunity with your business, and they're going to grow it, usually 3 to 5 times
Yes.
in the next 3 to 5 years, and then sell it. That's always the way it goes with private equity. Part of their deal might be that you retain a certain percentage, a small percentage. So that's a really good outcome for you, because you unlock the wealth that you created. So you've got a cash payout, but then you're still interested and you've still got a little bit of skin in the game as far as the future is concerned. Often they don't want you around though. They want you out.
Yes.
Because they're bringing in different management style and different key people to be able to exponentially grow the business.
And they want to know when you're influencing the staff and kind of still, hang around.
Correct. And it's very difficult in that type of situation. Say you're in an earn-out. It's often very difficult when you've been the boss, you've been calling the shots. It's my way or the highway, so to speak. All of a sudden you're answering to someone else and you've got to start doing management reports that you're not used to doing.
And it's got to be done by Friday.
Chop, chop. What? Otherwise it will be chop, chop. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's very difficult, often to be in that position.
Fantastic.
If you don't have a copy of Kerry's new book, The Uncensored Truth About Exit Strategies, please visit freeexitstrategybook.com.au.